Hey guys, it's Ben here from the Pride of Villa, back with another video. This time we're going to be looking at the January transfer window. I'm going to go through some positions that I think Aston Villa need to strengthen in, some key targets that we are currently looking at or should be looking at, and who I think would be a really good fit for Aston Villa. If you notice the voice there, I've got a dry throat and somehow it caused my whole vocals to go absolutely rubbish, so I sound even more monotone than I do usually, but we're going to carry on with it just for you guys. If you are going to enjoy this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Let's get us to 500 subscribers, half of 1,000 subscribers on this channel, which is quite mental to think, considering me and Nathan are just a bunch of idiots on this channel. Go follow us on our social pages as well, and tell us in the comments down below who you would like to be signing in the January transfer window. But without further ado, let's get started. So then Aston Villa currently sit in 12th place in the Premier League following their 3-1 defeat at home to Chelsea. And we currently approach, as I'm recording, a day and a bit away from the January transfer window being open. We've already seen signings from the likes of Barcelona recuperating Dani Alves and Ferran Torres recently from Manchester City. But this is more so to focus on Villa. We don't need to talk about those Spanish idiots. We're talking about Villa giants here in Aston Villa. Now, it's a very interesting position this is, because I don't think there's a lot that Villa needs to strengthen in. You know, I think for what we've got so far, there's a lot of depth there. It's just some key areas will need tweaking. And I think in January, considering Steven Gerrard's going to be having his first window here, and he might get a bit of money. We don't really know what he's going to go for, but I think Keeley's going to go for perhaps a new left back, definitely something in midfield to cover for the likes of Nakamba, and perhaps a new centre half that he has been linked with there. I would personally look towards more of that midfield, with the sprinkle of perhaps going for a new left back. Considering Matt Targett hasn't been there all this season compared to last year, and Ashley Young is currently out right now. So when you haven't got them two on form, and if Matt Targett's injured, then we do have a bit of a problem at left back. Centre half, I'm not too massively disappointed in with what we've got. I know Tuanzebe's apparently got links with going to Napoli for the rest of this season. You know, having his loan cut short with Villa, going back to Man U and then going straight back out to Napoli, which would be quite interesting to see, but also one that I'm not too fussed about, because I don't think he's really been massively great for us this season, sadly. As midfield is something we need. It just feels like a lack of creativity at times. And then with McGinn out, we've only got Jacob Ramsey. Nakamba out, seeing how well he was doing. We need to add a little bit more depth into those positions there. And I think if you get one or two more players in, plus the likes of Sanson, who's coming back to recuperate his form, still got Buendia, McGinn will come back, Ramsey, Chukwuemeka will come in the future. And also Douglas Luiz as well. There is still a lot of opportunities there. But I just think one or two more signs will make us stand out even more. So let's not mess around anymore. I also didn't mention about forwards, because I don't really think we need anything. We definitely don't need a striker. And out wide, I think we've got enough depth there with Buendia, El Ghazi, Traore, Trezeguet now coming back. Leon Bailey will come back at some point. We've also got Ramsey, who can play out there, and Phil Jimbadate. So I think there's enough rotationable options there. But let's not mess about anymore. Let's just get straight into a position. What start covering depth in. Let's look towards the left back position. So then the left back position, I've got two options here. One of them I think we're all pretty much established with. The first one is Aaron Hinckley from Bologna. He's 19 years of age. He'll cost us around £2.5 to £5 million. He's he's 19 years old. Don't need to mention that. Very talented left back here. Apparently there's already very strong links here with a possible move to Aston Villa. I know someone tried to post it on Twitter. They followed the club not long ago on Instagram, but that means nothing. Everyone does it. 20 appearances, 5 goals with Bologna, 19 years of age, someone that can really develop through into that position while still also giving a bit of competition to Matt Targett. It's a really smart sign, considering the money as well. It'd be a really good option for Gerrard. I believe this is one that also used to play for Celtic, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously Gerrard, having been in the Scottish Premiership with Rangers, would already have a good idea of what this player is like. And if he is truly targeting this player, it's clear he understands what he wants to see in him. And I think really this is a smart option. It's one for the future, gives Matt Target and Ashley Young that time for the next 2 or 3 years, and then it lets someone like Aaron develop through and try and push towards that position there. So that'll be a nice move there. The other one is a first player from Rangers. There's going to be a lot of these. Borna Barisic. The 29-year-old from Rangers there, one of Steven Gerrard's men. Obviously, these are a lot of links we're going to be seeing throughout this video. But it cost around 5 to 7.5 million. I'd argue a little bit cheaper considering his position. He's a strong character, Croatian as well, so he's got that drive and attitude about him to succeed. He's also got some great defensive attributes as well, really going to help solidify you at the back there on the left when you're dealing with some pacey opposition. He's really good under Gerrard, and as I said, because of that link there with Rangers already, how is he not going to feel like he can fit in straight away with Aston Villa? He knows Steven Gerrard's style of play, he sees how he's implemented it, and seeing he might want to play in the Premier League, Barisic would be thinking, oh, this is a very good move here, this is something I would like to see. And with Villa, it's up and coming, there's a lot of attacking football going on, this is something that I can help push through and help drive with the team and that defensive line there. So 2 real questionable options there. I'd look more towards Aaron Hinkley with both of them. I think he's the more reasonable option considering his youth and the fact that he's going to help develop through. But Barisic, in terms of that leadership role, something that I think Villa kind of lacks in the sense with McGinn and Mings as being captains. You get a real strong character in that dressing room, someone who's really going to help push the team forward. And I think someone like Barisic will help in that end, but I think I would rather be more inclined to go towards someone like Aaron Hinkley, who's young, he's going to have pace, he's going to have that drive and tenacity, a bit like a younger Kieran Tierney from Arsenal, someone that would stand out in that Villa defence over time. So let me know in the comments down below who you think would be the better option, Hinkley or Barisic, or any other names you think would be much more suited under Steven Gerrard. But let's move away from that now, let's go over to the centre-backs. And then we shift on over to the middle of the defensive line. We've got the centre halves now. 2 options yet again. However, these are some very stronger options. Now, as I said, Tuanzebe potentially going back to Manchester United to go to Napoli on the season-long loan. Something that wouldn't really disappoint me because I just don't think he's really been enough of an option to push against Konza and Mings. But ultimately, at the same time, I wouldn't be disappointed if he was to stay because it adds that depth. We've also still got Courtney House, who I think is still a really good centre-half for us, someone that's really developing. But it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen with him in the next 18 months because of contracts. So centre-halves here, obviously the first one we need to talk about is Joe Gomez from Liverpool. Both these linked, in fact, from Liverpool. I'll let you work out what this second one is. But Joe Gomez, obviously, a lot of big talk that Gerrard's wanting to bring Gomez in. Obviously coming off a massive injury, I believe it's to his ACL. So he's missed a lot of last season and this season with Van Dijk and Matip being their 2 centre-halves there. Gomez not really getting much at all at Liverpool now. So perhaps that's the idea there. Maybe Gerrard's thinking either Konza and Mings is not towards suiting him, and he'd like to see someone like Joe Gomez, who for 24 years of age, having played in the UCL and in the Premier League, also having won the Premier League as well, won the Champions League, and also being an England international in the past. Lots of experience for someone as young as him, and he's also that versatility to play out wide as a right back or left back. Really gives a lot of options there for Gerrard to work with, and he's a good defender for his age. For 24 years old, he reads the game very well. And when you see him sometimes playing with Van Dijk, he's clearly learned something off that guy and managed to put in really key tackles and really make sure positionally he's staying in line, he's marshalling that defence and can be a bit of a leader. So it would be interesting to see how much you get for him. Probably cost about 6 million to loan him in for the rest of the season, but potentially an option. But it also depends on what's going to happen with the likes of Tuanzebe and potentially House. And then number 2, then my other option, Nathaniel Phillips, the other 24-year-old. Not quite as experienced as Joe Gomez. He's played some of the games last season behind doors. He's also played in the UCL as well. He's played in the second league of the Bundesliga. He costs about 3 million to loan him over. Can also play in the right back or left back. So again, another bit of versatility. And the thing with Nathaniel Phillips is he's a much more bigger character than Joe Gomez in the sense of his physicality. Means when you're pairing up with someone like Mings, who, when he was playing against Lukaku the other day, how he tried to go toe-to-toe with him physically, and that's not something that's going to work. Because you've got someone like Nathaniel Phillips there, who will be able to manage that side of the game a little bit better, be a bit more rougher with opponents, and be able to provide a better shield with the likes of Mings there to stop balls coming through, and also really establish that key crucial partnership that we need there as well. Both got that Liverpool connection, obviously, so Steven Gerrard, obviously being from Liverpool, he will be able to really pull in some strings there, a bit like what Frank Lampard did with Derby, bringing in the likes of Mason Mount and Harry Wilson. There's a lot of key options there. Versatility as well, two big characters. It's just a case of who would be a better fit. Would that mean a change of formation? Would we see 5 at the back and play 3 centre halves? Is that what Gerrard's trying to go for here? Or does he simply just think either Konsa or Mings is not at the standard he wants and would like to see someone like Joe Gomez or Nathaniel Phillips break through and really give that position a lot more depth and competition? But that's one for him to decide. For me, it's really hard to say. I think Joe Gomez would be an interesting option. But I don't think really something that I'd like to see going ahead of Mings or Konsa. I know Mings can't always be the greatest at times and he does have the mistakes in him. But I've also got to think of the character that he brings. And when he is on his day, he's actually a really good defender for Villa. And then Konsa, obviously, in a league of his own, away from Mings. So it's impossible to drop Konsa right now. It'd just be interesting to see who he would tap into the market for and what he would go for. But I would look more towards Joe Gomez just because of that experience. And I think he's an already natural defender. Give him some play time. And if you really do like him, try and put a bid out in the summer transfer window. That's the centre-half position there. It's hard to say. Obviously, it really all does depend on Tuanzebe. But leave in the comments down below who you would like to see out of them two, or if there's anyone else you might think would be a better option for that fit, and what you think Gerrard would do. Would he change the formation, or is he simply just looking to replace Konsa or Mings? Leave in the comments down below. But now let's move on to probably the most important position in this window, the midfield. So then now we move on to the most important position for me, that midfield. Obviously Nakamba being out injured now, missing a lot of season, considering the good performances he was making under Gerrard. The likes of COVID running rife with McGinn as well. Sometimes Jacob Ramsey, Buendia not really been all at it this season. Sanson only really now starting to come back into the game but not having enough play time this year. And the likes of Chuck Wemaker sadly just not being quite at the point that we need him right now to be, a bit like Jacob Ramsey. I think it's without a doubt he's going to bring in someone in midfield. And let's look at those key links that he's been linked with already. First in that number 6 position, of course, Glenn Kamara from Rangers. The 26-year-old cost around 10 to 15 million to bring him in from Rangers. This is a league that has been heavily going and is perhaps the most concrete connection that Villa has with any transfer-wise. It's a very sensible move, obviously. I think, Gerrard's obviously worked with him under Rangers. He's won the SPFL. And, he's already got those links. He understands what Gerrard wants to play, and seeing we could do with another central defensive midfielder to competition with Luis and help out Nakamba. It's a very safe signing. It's not a signing that gets me excited. That doesn't mean that Kamara is a bad player. He's not. He's actually really solid defensively. I think to his game against Slavia Prague and Aberdeen, he's had some great games against them and shown how defensively strong he can be for a player of his position. And he's someone that would be somewhat of a natural fit into Aston Villa, I think. But someone that wouldn't really overall excite fans, I don't feel, sadly, because of that safe option. The other option I've then got is Boubacar Kamara from Marseille. Now, we've also been linked with him as well. 22 years of age, would cost a lot of money, though. I know Newcastle have been trying to prepare a £10 million bid for him. I think you'd have to pay at least 20, 25 million for him, considering his age and experience. As I said, heavy interest from Newcastle, but also from Manchester United, considering they're having to work with McTominay and Fred. Obviously, he's a natural fit. He only plays as a CDM, so he's going to slot right into the role of Douglas Luiz and Nakamba. But you've also got to think there is also that link there with Morgan Sanson. 2 French players, I believe. Someone that's going to really help pursue Kamara to break through into the Aston Villa team, establish that clear connection, and you're obviously going to get a nice bit of link of play between the two of them. Plus the likes of McGinn as a very young midfield, but also someone that's going to want to drive forward, press really high, and really help establish to get that team moving forward, whilst providing a lot of solid cover to that back 4 or 5, whatever Steven Gerrard decides to go for. Some really interesting options there. But moving forward more towards the middle of the park, we've got Curtis Jones, another player that we was linked with from Liverpool. This one was really more under Dean Smith, but I could also see Gerrard trying to bring him in, considering the lack of playtime Curtis Jones gets at Liverpool. 20 years old, plays in that central attacking midfielder role somewhere like where Buendia's been playing, but also can fill in the middle of the park and even go out wide and play on the left. He's already won the Premier League. At 20 years old, he's already got that trophy under his belt. He's got that experience for his age. So I'm very young. Something like a Billy Gilmore at Norwich. He may not be doing it right now, but he's overall a good player. You're going to get someone that's going to develop through, really, just drive us forward, bring short some of that attacking philosophy that Gerrard wants to implement with that 4-3-3, and really push that team forward, get us pressing out wide, and really give it into the balls to like Watkins to really feed off of, and Curtis Jones would be a really good, excellent option there. In terms of a value, then it costs probably about 5 million to loan him in, given the rest of the season now, as I said, prepare a bid for next year. And then finally, perhaps the most controversial choice, but I've seen a lot of people wouldn't be upset with this one, Dele Alli from Tottenham Hotspurs. It's a huge gamble with Dele Alli. Obviously, he has not been the same player that he once was, I think, a few years ago. He's a shadow of himself. He just doesn't look like he enjoys his football at the moment. And I think for the money that you could potentially be paying for him, it's a very big chance. But, 25 years of age, cost only 25 million, considering Tottenham Hotspur are very much willing to let him go right now. Obviously, he can play in that number 10 role, as we said. That's where he's really established himself well. You got to look at the game against Crystal Palace, where he scored that brilliant goal all by himself, creating that chance by himself. You just turn that switch on, you're going to get a really good attacking player there. But again, similar to Curtis Jones, he can play in the middle of the pitch or even out wide if he needs to be. England international, he's been to a UCL final, experience under his belt, something that Gerrard might need to lead that midfield when McGinn's not here, sadly, or Jacob Ramsey. It'd be a very interesting buy. Do I think he'd go for it? No, I think he already would probably sit there and say, oh no, it's not good enough. He's not good enough to play for us, It's not really what we want, I don't know why I'm doing the Liverpool accent there. But you get my idea. I just don't think Gerrard would really see Dele Alli as a viable option there for Aston Villa. And that's really all I've got in midfield. It's a very small linkage of mids because I don't think there's enough depth there. But for me, I'd look towards Boubacar Kamara. I think there's a lot more potential there than a Glenn Kamara. I just think Glenn Kamara's way too safe and wouldn't really change much in terms of that midfield for Aston Villa. Whereas Kamara, young age, is one going to go forward. You can learn under Luiz and Nakamba, and you're going to give him a lot of development. Plus that link with Sanson, it makes for a good starting link and connection. And then I'd also would look at Curtis Jones, just perhaps to give a bit more depth to that midfield. Give someone the likes of just that bit of connection with Chuck Wimmicker and some of our more younger players. Make sure that they can establish themselves in that midfield role. But also with him, it's about driving forward, that Liverpool connection. He's going to want to work hard, really push under Gerrard's tutelage. And I think that's what you're going to get with a player like Curtis Jones. But then, leave in the comments down below who you'd like to see in midfield. Who do you think would be the better option to connect the middle of the pitch and really establish that strong, solid core for Aston Villa? I didn't talk about forwards because I don't really think Villa needed that, but I'm just going to give a few mentions. Gabigol from Flamengo. A lot of really high connections from him. Really strong forward Brazilian. Interest from Newcastle, who are also perhaps looking for a striker now that Maximan's injured, Wilson's injured, and they've only really got Joe Linton. Gale might be on his way out. Be interested to see what's going to happen there. Joe Aribo from Rangers. Obviously, the connection from Gerrard. I think that would be a really good signing, considering the player that he's developed into being. Just a question of, is he really much more of a player that can break for and excite the style of play that Villa wants to see? Ryan Kent as well. I think this is another. I wouldn't be massively happy with Ryan Kent just because I don't think he's massively been great, sadly, since rejoining Rangers. Somebody that hasn't really excited me enough to warrant seeing him playing in an Aston Villa shirt. And it's very interesting to see who Villa would go for if they were to go for a forward. Would they perhaps look to strengthen out wide? Would they perhaps bring in a new striker? Would they try and somehow offload Danny Ings somewhere else. Who knows? Who knows what Villa could do? But those are my mentions, and that's overall this January transfer window. Not a massive amount to work with. Right back, I think we're perfectly fine. We've got Matty Cash. We're going to have Gilbert back at some point, but he probably will go away. We've got Kane Kaiser. We've still got Philly Jane Bidet, so he can play in that role. Goalkeeper-wise, I think that's one you can just leave till the summer. See what's going to happen with Jed Steer. Perhaps bring... Because no one's really going to replace Martinez. That's the issue. Not going to get a keeper. Currently for our value and money that you're going to get to buy better than Martinez. Midfield is the key area for me though. It needs strengthening, it needs that solid core, and it needs someone that's going to help fill out that role from the Canberra, but also add a bit more depth into midfield. So let me know in the comments down below who you would like to sign. If you could only have one signing of your choice, who would it be to fill in the boots of an Aston Villa player? And you can also tell us on our social pages as well who you'd like to see come in to wear the claret and blue. But without further ado, make sure you subscribe to never miss out on transfers that are coming in or coming out. We'll always update you, and match vlogs as well. I've been Ben, up the Villa with a pride of Villa. We'll see you later, boys.